Hey, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Soulpreneur Scaling Stories. I am here today with my special guest, Mel Maw, who is a VA agency owner and podcast host. And she has a very interesting thing that we want to talk about today. So thank you, Mel, for being here today.
You're so welcome. I'm really excited to dive in because, yes, you've got some juicy questions for me.
I
Not
do have
something
juicy
I can't
questions.
wait to share.
Amazing. Okay, so let's get into the thing that I am the most excited about because I don't want to keep the people's waiting. So your scaling business journey is backwards to what a lot of service providers do. So a lot of service providers will start off as a general VA, go into something else, and then oftentimes this leads into some sort of coaching. Not everybody, obviously, but
Mm.
this is kind of like a typical journey. But yours was not. Yours was a little bit the other way around. So can you talk about that and share what you have been doing?
Yes, I recently made a decision only maybe about a month ago to actually stop coaching. And I've been a coach for about 4 years. I've had my VA business for about five. So for almost all of the years I've been in business, I've been a coach, business coach, helping other service
Mm,
providers. And as I said, it's only been about a month and I haven't really unpacked this sort of like publicly, not like I'm a public figure, but you know what I mean, to talk about the ins and the outs of it. So I think it's a really interesting conversation to have about everything I do is intentional. Every single thing I do is intentional. So it's a good one to unpack in terms of how you get to design a business around your life, making sure that it suits you. And that's kind of a really big part of where the decision came from. It's just something
mm.
needed to change.
So this is so interesting. Okay, so can you first tell me about what were some of the signs or like the first things that kind of were coming to you and you're like, oh, maybe this is not quite right. Maybe this is not quite for me.
So many things. I'm not sort of enormously knowledgeable about human design, but I'm a generator, and one of the
Hmm.
themes of things aren't going the right way is just a constant sense of frustration. And imagine living with that frustration for over a year, but not quite knowing where it's coming from. And with having the two
Oh.
businesses, the VA agency and the coaching, they are two completely different businesses that I need to market with as much energy. So it's almost like every multi-passionate person will understand having a marketing more than one business isn't the easiest. And especially if it's like having two children, one's going to vie for your attention a lot more one day than the other will do. And you've got this kind
So
of ever shifting equilibrium.
yes, and I'm laughing because I literally have two businesses that I do the same thing and it
Right.
is. So it's a choice that I made or that I'm making and yeah,
Yeah.
100%. It's but I will say that I chose very different marketing strategies for each one because of this fact that I was like, I
Yes.
know I can't show up, you know, full on social for two different businesses on different accounts. Like I know
Mm-mm.
this is not me. So like I chose one to do that and the other one to have different marketing strategies, but you're 100% right. When you have two businesses, you're divided.
Yes.
And and that is one of the struggles with being multi-passionate and with doing different things.
Absolutely. And I think add into that, to give you a quick view of the business over the last 5 years, I started as a VA. I basically blew up
Mhm.
my life on, I call it my midlife crisis was the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I took a sabbatical from my corporate job and I think I was 37 and I was like, what am I doing? I had a massive sort of health event that led to me taking this maternity cover PA job. And I've always floated in and out of PA EA work, like personal assistant
Mm.
work because cash is good and it's so easy. And I'm such a organizational nerd. Like that's my way of looking after people. Weirdly, it's spreadsheets and organizing. So that was always something I could fall back into. And after the health event, I thought, well, I'll just take maternity cover. I'll be here for a year. I was there for 5 years. And I sort of
Mm.
thought, right, I've got more in my bones, but I need to take a break because the business that I was in was shrinking, putting more responsibility on us, classic burnout story.
Yeah.
I took sabbatical and started, and I didn't even know the VA world existed underneath my, day job. So that's how it started on sabbatical, quit the job, became a VA. And I've started from like £15 an hour, just going, I don't know what I'm doing to a year later being like, I need people, I need team. And I'd started to outsource. And that's how the agency, I just didn't want to leave cash on the table. And I've always been very
Mm.
entrepreneurial. This is probably the second or third business I've had over my lifetime. So I was like, I'm not leaving cash on the table. So the agency naturally grew. And then within a year of the sort of,
So your motivation for the agency was like, I'm getting these clients, like I want to serve people
yeah,
and like, let's do it this way. Okay, cool.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I was like, this has
Mm-hmm.
legs.
Mm-hmm.
And also I'd been
Mm-hmm.
quite burnt out. And I got to the point where I thought, I
Mm.
want to run things my way. And my bosses
Yep.
had shifted around as they do in corporate, and I never had a choice of who I served. And there were some really difficult people over the years. And I just thought, do you know what? I actually want to be able to have that choice of who I work with. And I also want to be able to look after my health. That was the primary motivator for the business was
Mm-hmm.
I'm having more
Mm-hmm.
doctor's appointments because basically I don't have a spleen. So healthy otherwise, but my immune system's a little compromised. So having to take care of myself meant more than the average person needs to do for themselves. So just being crunched in a corporate system wasn't the way. And I wanted to have enough money to take care of myself well, do the things I enjoyed, work with lovely people. And so you kind of take all these building blocks of like, right, this is what I want a business to be. And then it grows. And then you go, oh, this is great. I don't want to leave cash on the table. And so suddenly I'm taking on people with no clue how to do that, figuring out, flying the plane while I'm putting the wings on
Right.
it.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and then very quickly, excuse me, people were asking, well, how did you do that? Can you teach me how to do it? And I was like, sure.
Oh, this is interesting. It's interesting
And
that people are coming to you without necessarily you doing anything. Like people can see like, oh, like
mm,
she's successful, like she's doing this agency thing, and like what is she doing? It's so interesting that that's how the coaching
yeah.
came about.
Yeah, and I think it was a slightly different market. You look back at 2018, 2019, online service provider market,
Right.
anything pre-pandemic, I think is so different to how it is now. I think
Yes.
2020
100%.
flooded
Yeah.
the market with people
Right.
going, oh, I want to work from home, or I don't want to, all
Mm-hmm.
of the things that happened as of the pandemic. So this was pre-pandemic, and I think it was kind of a novelty of, she's done it, I can do it, tell me how. And so coaching at its base there was very rudimentary, teaching service providers
Mm-hmm.
how to do what I did with a focus on VAs. And I loved it because that was I have had some great mentors in my very, very early business years who one of them said to me, what's the point in climbing the ladder if you can't hand it down to someone else? You're not going to pull the ladder up just because you've
Hmm.
got all the knowledge. Why don't you
That's
pass it
beautiful.
on? And I
Yeah.
thought that's always been a part of my way and my values. So coaching was like, this is amazing. And then seeing that person go off and build their business or change their offers or land clients was just,
Oh,
oh, I
it's the
didn't know this
best
could be
feeling.
so, yeah. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, and then you
Yeah.
get hooked on that. And so you go, oh, this is a
Yeah.
business. Oh, great. And it's got better profit margins than an agency with
Mm-hmm.
team. So I was like, this is
Mm-hmm.
win-win. So I went into developing that and I was doing programs and ebooks and, really making a decent living out of it. And then the
Did you
agency
have
was
your
sort of
agency at the same time?
they were just starting at the same time, the coaching and the agency. So
Uh,
it was all
oh,
very
wow.
much
Okay.
like it's fully booked out with
Yeah.
really great clients. And then bit by
Yeah.
bit, sort of it all just grew together. And so the two have been like these
Mm-hmm.
these twins, running side by side for best part of 4 or 5 years.
Mm.
And I think over the last 12 to 18 months, things have changed. And this constant push and pull where it used to be so easy for me to get, coaching clients on Instagram, that was my primary platform. That has changed. And I,
Mm.
hand on heart, you can say it's not the algorithm, it's your content or your messaging or whatever. And I think it's a part of all of those things that led to me feeling like it was really hard to get clients. And the agency is, if we talk about like being confident and comfortable, like really in our skin, comfortable in a lane, agency is it. I'm a nerd. I love these clients.
Mm.
I know the model. It's repeatable. It's scalable. I take pride in training my team. I take pride in the 6 and 7 figure CEOs that we serve. But then fighting as things changed with the way I was marketing coaching, there was always this, who am I serving? Are they newbies? Are they a little bit further along? Are they like VAs turning into OBMs or turning into strategists? And there was a sort of a disconnect somewhere. And it felt like it just wasn't as easy as it had been. And I didn't
Mm.
know what that disconnect was. So for about the last, I'd say year, I felt a very frustrated sense with coaching. I was like, why is this so hard? And then is this what I want to do? But I always want to pass knowledge on. So about a month ago, I was in Taylor Slango she ran a 30-day container, which is sort of, I think it's called the uh, Wealthy Woman or the Nourished CEO. And it was 30 days of mindset and strategy prompts. And it was such an insightful container. And it was in that sort of space where actually she gave us a prompt and it was an exercise to sort of sit with yourself and your body and, do almost like muscle testing. Like if you put one scenario, close your eyes, see how your body
Mm-hmm.
feels, and you put the other
Mm-hmm.
scenario to your body. And the thing that came out was like, keep coaching. And my body almost like hunched forward, every muscle tense. And I was like, but it's so much work just to get one client. Why are we doing this? Because that energy could be spent on the agency. And the agency is in such a juicy, lovely place right now. And I'm really loving that. And I sort of felt this like, but if I had more time, the agency would grow faster and I could spend more time doing more of what I love. And that realization was like a pit in my stomach as well. Like, what happened? Why don't I love coaching the way I used to? So all of the mindset stuff that comes up with letting go, like it's almost like the death of a bit of your ego going, well, if I don't do coaching, who am I and what am I? Was I ever good at it? You know, it's all these
Mm.
things. But in the end, the decision
So,
to put it on pause was quite a relief almost.
okay. So I want to go back to a couple things here because it's so interesting. So
Mm,
the part that you said, because this is the things that I do as well with my clients, is the, feeling it in your body, like sitting with it
mm,
and not just doing something because you have been doing it, right?
yeah.
And just like continuing on with it. And the fact that you did that and you had this physical response is so telling. And the fact that you trusted yourself to move forward with this decision of letting go, that's
Mm,
hard. It's
yes.
really hard to make that decision and to actually say, okay, like I'm stopping doing this thing.
Mm,
And this is why. So, what was going on internally? What was like the mindset when you're like, okay, I'm going to do this? Like when you made that decision, what kind of
mm.
came up for you when you're like, okay, I'm going to stop coaching?
Well, it's multifaceted because I was at the time running the first round of a mastermind with my
Mm,
partner and co-coach in that, Abby. And so it wasn't just, there was weight to the decision because I needed to speak to her because I was kind of letting go of something for my business, but also that would affect deeply someone else. And bless her, she was so graceful about it. And she knows me inside and out. She was like, oh, this is not a surprise. And I was like, oh, shit. So
ah,
there was another one of
like she
my
could feel your energy. Could she feel it? Like you
yes,
didn't talk to her
because
about it before. What, yeah,
no, but
I'm curious what she felt.
we've had she's a coach as well, and we've been friends for a long time.
Hmm.
And over sort of, as you do when you're really, she's actually one of my closest friends as well. And when you're that close to somebody, they've been through all of the mindset wobbles around coaching, around how I felt about it. Because on one hand, I am seeing people say, "You've changed my life, you've changed my business. This is incredible." And I've watched them go off and have businesses that have tripled in size and stayed consistent. And simple things have changed and had an impact on people. So I know that the coaching I wasn't a shit coach, is what I'm trying to say. But
You're like, no, I
and
promise I didn't stop because I was terrible at it. Yeah.
yeah, but also that sort of feeling of friction with it is there was a resistance to sitting down at my desk every day to market it. And all I wanted to do was
Mm.
the agency side of things.
Oh, that's
And
so telling. Yeah, it's so telling.
yeah, it was like one of them
Yeah.
felt like frustration and one of them felt like play and,
Hmm.
fun and exploration. And that was the agency. And when I made the decision, I
Hmm.
just felt like a year's worth of weight on my shoulders had lifted. And I don't think it was a huge shock to anybody. But then there comes that, what do I do now? How do I position this?
Hmm.
How do I tell this? And this is kind of the first time I'm really unpacking it because there are people in my universe and orbit and community that are there because I'm a coach. So what does that mean now? So there's
Right.
still a
Right.
process of figuring out how to serve them. And I think one of the things
Mm.
that I will be doing is packaging up all my products and resources in like free and paid offers that will just live in the digital library because they're so helpful. I don't want to just put
Hmm.
them to
Hmm.
bed. So when I have the space, I'll be doing a little bit of that. But yeah, it feels like a good decision. It's not the easiest one to make.
Yeah, and also very courageous
Mm,
to do that. Like it takes bravery to because there's all these thoughts that come up of, oh, am I letting people down?
yeah.
Am I going to be fulfilled just as an agency owner or things like this?
Mm,
So I think there is a lot to it, just as somebody who's deciding to go into coaching. So it's like anytime there's a shift, there's a lot that
yeah.
comes up
Well,
that has to be dealt with and moved through.
yeah, and I think as you were saying, it's you have to really decide what actually feels good for you. And that's one of the
Yes.
biggest things that I was really proud to teach to everybody is if you've been employed, if you've been in positions where you couldn't use your voice, couldn't, use your own agency to decide things for yourself, that intuition gets so dulled that one of the the proudest parts of my work was always allowing women to tap into what actually feels good for them. Because you ask them the question, and in the beginning, you
Mm-hmm.
can see in coaching, they're like shoulder shrug, and they're just looking at you blankly, like, what did that mean? Does that feel good for me? I don't. But they literally go, I don't know. And I'm like, and they go, what do you think? And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, if you outsource your decisions to me, you'll create codependency, and you'll never flex that muscle for yourself. So
Yep. Yep.
it's practicing what I teach, because also, look, there's a resilience, right? It's being in business for 5 years. You know you're going to figure it out. You know you can bounce back from whatever
Mm-hmm.
decision or thing that you're choosing to do. So there's also, I have the luxury of that. I'm like, I'm not a newbie. When I change something in my business, I know I'll make it work and it's going to be great, versus what
Mm.
does this mean? So the insecurities and all that, it's years of mindset work to sort of be okay with making a decision
Yes.
that feels so big. It's the constant
Yes.
mindset work, the tools that I have to continue to do the mindset work to make
Right.
moving through big decisions easier than they
Mhm.
would be. It's
Yes. And
all
this is
tools.
such a good point. Yeah, it's such
Hmm.
a good point because it's true. Because I've been in business for about the similar amount of time. And I'm like, no, I know. Like I've done this, and it's the same thing. Like I'm in love because we're the same. And the same principles and thoughts and all of that. And it is true that it's so different making a decision now that you've learned to trust yourself. You have learned to tap into your intuition. You've learned what it feels like when it's a full body yes versus when it's is it fear?
Mm.
Just fear and words? I don't know words anymore today. Fear and imposter syndrome type thoughts, or is it like,
Yeah.
no, actually, this is not right for me? And it's going through
Mm.
and really doing all of this mindset and self work and somatic work and all of this that's really helped with that.
Hmm.
So for
Yeah.
people who are making these decisions for the first time, this is
Mm.
why it's so important, I feel like, to be supported by somebody. And this is what I support people in their pivots. I support service providers who are pivoting, who are
Yeah.
looking to do something new. And oftentimes there's so much fear that comes up and there's so much doubt and there's it's like, no, I'm just going to stay doing this thing, even though
Yeah.
it's this other side, right? That's like the thing
Yeah.
that's calling them and the thing that they're so much happier. And that's the thing that's going to be successful. So
Hmm.
all of that to say is that it's such a good point that the more you practice this and the more internal work you do, the easier it is. And it's not that it's
Yeah.
easier, it's that you trust yourself more and that you know
Yeah.
it's going to be okay. You're more confident in it. It's still
Definitely.
hard. It's still difficult.
Yeah. I
You're
mean,
confident.
I
Yeah.
always say, this with my friends, that being an entrepreneur is the biggest personal development journey you'll
Yep.
ever go on, because it just fast tracks it. Never do
Mm-hmm.
you have to be solely responsible for yourself. This is the self-employed versus the employee. You're so responsible for yourself that you're the ultimate decision maker. And you have to get to a place where you learn to trust your decisions. Otherwise, you're living in this kind of push and pull and energy, drain of not making decisions. And so
Mm-hmm.
I left it for a long time, but I will see something through, and I will, if I'm doing something new, I'll always test it for 6 months at least. But when
Yes.
it comes to
Yes.
decisions, I'm thinking about
Mm-hmm.
all the facets of it. And I think probably because of the mastermind, I didn't make the decision for a while longer, because I really wanted to do a mastermind. I really wanted to do this group program. And it
Mm-hmm.
was one of the most beautiful things we've ever created. And I'm so proud of it. And I'm so proud of the women that came through it. And I will always, have that in my brain as that was a thing that I wanted to do that we did really well. So I'm proud of that.
Mm.
But ultimately, that was a sold out launch. And so, people be like, why are you walking away from that? And it's like,
Right. Right.
you can't force that boulder up a hill. You continue to do it, and
Yeah.
you burn out, and it's a nicer headspace that I'm living in now that I've made the decision.
And I think it's an important point as well to say that your coaching was successful. You
Mm.
weren't walking away because it didn't work. You were walking away
No.
because, in spite of it being successful, it just didn't feel right to you.
Yeah.
And
Which is
that's so
weird.
important.
Yeah, but that's
Right.
weird, right? Because that's not an
Yes.
easy place to make a decision from. You're like, you've been something off
Right.
that hasn't worked. But when it's working, you're like, nah, I don't think I'm going to do that anymore. It's not normal.
Right. True.
It's like the opposite of what
And
happens
I
in the
think
coaching world.
also, right. Yeah, exactly. And I think also it's funny because other people probably told you, like, no, that's crazy. Why would you do, if you asked for advice from other people,
Mhm.
they would never tell you to give it up.
Yeah,
But that was the
exactly.
like right thing for you to do. And you had to trust yourself and listen to yourself to know that
Yeah.
and have the confidence to do that.
And it doesn't mean I will never do coaching again. I think
Yeah.
just for the
Yeah.
rest of this year, at least, my
Mhm.
focus is on turning the agency into something that is really beautiful, build that reputation up, and continue to grow that, because it's at such a beautiful stage with the type of clients, the team, all the systems, all the onboarding, all the offboarding, everything just feels really good. And I'm having fun tweaking and improving everything because I have the headspace to do it, and also there's obviously
Mm,
a podcast in my life. So, you add VA agency owner, marketing two businesses, being a coach, running a mastermind as well, doing a podcast, something's got to give. That was the biggest thing is you can be multi-passionate, but there is also a season for everything. And I think this just isn't my season for coaching. And that's just okay,
mm.
you know?
Yeah, totally. And like the thought of it's just not the season for it. And as
Mm.
opposed to I'm never going to do this again and I am done completely is a really nicer mindset. It's a nice way to think about it because it doesn't feel
Yeah.
so final. It doesn't feel like, oh, I can never get back to that. Because
No.
you can, you
Yeah,
know what you're doing. Like you know that you can always return to something if you
absolutely.
want to.
Yeah, and I won't
Mhm.
lie, looking at my calendar has been absolutely delightful since I made the decision because there is a lot of well, also I think about it from this perspective, and this is just me being really honest, is I was
Mm,
walking beside other people's businesses so deeply in them because I never took coaching lightly. If I was doing one-to-one coaching with somebody, I'm in their business almost as much as I'm in mine. And I love that and I love that
mhm,
relationship. But there were definitely points where I was like, the agency needs me and it needs my headspace. And there's bits that, certain things catch fire and certain things and do really well. And both of them need a lot of your energy. And when you're walking inside someone else's business, you've got responsibilities in other places. And I'm thinking, if I
mhm,
need that energy, who am I to coach as well? And that's part of the imposter syndrome that I was coaching myself through is who am I to
mhm,
coach when my agency actually needs me to do more for it? Yeah, I'm walking beside someone else's business. And so when the decision was made and the calendar cleared, I was like, oh my God, I haven't had this much white space on my calendar in so long. And that is just, I've actually taken some time over the last few weeks to just revel in that and play with it. And my brain has been so creative as a result. So it's been beautiful.
mm. So let's shift over to the agency and
Mm,
talk about that evolution. So you had mentioned when we first started chatting that when you had started, it just kind of, sort of, okay, like I don't want to leave money on the table. Let's bring on some team and let's get this thing, like, let's go.
yeah.
And I know that. Yeah, I'm very well aware, well versed in the fact that having an agency has a lot of moving parts. You need to have the systems, you need to have there's a lot of
Yes.
things that have to be together in order for it to run well and not
Hmm.
need you there 24/7 on top of everything. So can you talk about that journey a bit
Yes.
in figuring out like what do I need? What do I do? Like how do I actually do this? What were
Mm.
the biggest mistake, the hurdles that you had learned from all of that?
Well, I know you know this too well because you did it and then reeled that back, didn't you? Which I loved. Um, Literally. So with the start of the agency, I think I was scrambling at the beginning to figure out everything was done on the fly. I didn't have a mentor until about I want to say like 18 months in. So I had
Mhm,
started coaching and I got the agency and I'd started to get team on board. That's when I hired my first mentor. And that made such a difference because it was like giving me the structure. She was very strategy based, which I needed to sort of structure the business. And it was just picking up scrappy, learning, what's the onboarding process look like? How do I make that better? But if I'm bringing team into it and I'm struggling to delegate and let go because I do things a certain way, and I'm a very
right.
experienced EA. So I'm having to figure out the best way to impart that wisdom onto people. And it very quickly became, it's got to be SOPs. We've got to figure out how to stop people asking me a million questions on Slack every day, which was happening and which was exhausting. And I was like, oh my gosh. So now there are amazing systems and SOPs in place that mean that the team have everything they need from the day they sign. They're onboarded in this beautiful Dovesado workflow, lots of documents, and then they access my SOP folder. And I'm at the moment spending time actually turning the SOPs into videos because obviously people are different in terms of neurodiversity and ADHD and scale. So how they learn will be different. Not everyone wants to read a Google Doc. They might just want to 1.5 me on a video and zoom through. Do you know what I mean? So there's all sorts of
Right.
that in the background, but it's the process of having to take what was in my brain, how I do things, the standards, the way, the tone, but the values. So I think the first thing I did was write a manifesto, share my values. Why do I have this
Mm,
business? Why is it important? Who are we serving? What difference are we making? And it was always to change that client assistant dynamic was the biggest
mhm,
driver
mhm.
so that we're choosing really lovely clients and everything is also ability but personality fit at the same time with my team and the clients. And it just grew and it's, ebbs and flows as it does. Some clients will stay with you for a long time, sometimes a short time. but it's got to a really good place of just, yeah, everything's working now. And it's just, I'm tinkering in the background at the moment, like a little mad scientist, loving all the like moving to Notion for this and moving away from Calendly and switching to this. It's just, to me, it's weird fun.
Don't apologize for it. I'm there. I'm with you. I love doing these things as well. And you're like, oh, every time I do something new and I make a system for it, it makes my heart a little bit happier. And I'm like, yes,
Absolutely.
please. Right? Like even this podcast, like the first thing I did for guest, all the things with the guests is that I made a system. I was like,
Oh, her
'cause there's
system,
no
folks,
way
her
I could do
system
this.
is beautiful. Her onboarding and workflow for like reminding me that this podcast is coming up. I was like, she's good.
Thank you. On my OBMness, yes, comes out in that. Except that I'm so grateful because I totally forgot that I had a flow, it's like, oh, they get added into Flowdesk, into my email. And then there's like this email that goes, I didn't remember that existed. And
So
I made it
funny.
back. Yeah. Like, so check your automations, people, because I had made this email back when I had originally done this as an IG Live series. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to repurpose it into a podcast. And so it says IG Live. And I was like, so you had responded to that email. I was like, what is this? And I was like, oh, we need to
Oh, how
update this.
funny. Brilliant. Yes, folks, we can always go back and tinker. We can always make things better.
It's all good. Nobody has ever noticed, apparently, or not shown up on my podcast because I wasn't quite up to date, but it was mostly up to date. It was fine. With your agency, what are your services? What do you focus on serving your clients with?
Yeah, so I would say I've got a slim but effective lane. So we offer business admin, so traditional EAPA services plus lifestyle support. The kind of area that we sit really nicely in is they are 6 and 7 figure CEOs. They are either solo entrepreneurs, global CEOs with teams, but they are all innovators, creators, industry disruptors, from, UN climate change experts to, app startups, but just people who are trying to make their industries better in some different way. And they've been so incredible in terms of, we've sort of unlocked this golden circle of client referrals from the clients that we have. So they're all also, they all tend to be either had investment money, hence the startups, or they are angel and seed investors into the kind of startups that change industries and make the world better. Don't ask how, just so lucky that we've ended up in that network. So they're really impressive, whether they're solo entrepreneurs or, multiple 7-figure businesses. They are just incredible humans. And so we've really just gone, well, business admin is what they need. And then the lifestyle support. So some clients have a mix of, maybe it's like 80% business support admin, all of those usual calendar, diary, scheduling, travel, expenses, to the lifestyle support. We've recently helped a client buy like a 7-figure house. We're helping them get the interior designers and all the utilities and like everything that you can imagine someone of that level would need done with their life. We do. From the luxury holidays to almost like the concierge lifestyle services. So it really is those two specific things for that type of person. And I think come 2025, I may think about, branching out into, whether we serve coaches with tech VAs and support like that and creatives. But at the moment, that lane has just been working so well for us.
Is this something that you sort of fell into? Was it your intention when you started? How did you develop that? Because it is something pretty unique, because a lot of VAs, a lot of service providers do work with coaches and people very specific to the online space. And this is a very different lane of people. So I'm curious how that came about. And how you just realized like, oh, I really love this. This is what I want to stick with.
I think because it's within my skill set. Originally, it started obviously because I was doing the work until I think it was about, did I stop doing that? So I stopped doing hands-on video work about coming up maybe 3 years ago now. So the team do everything and I just do the marketing, the business development, everything else. I think, without sort of saying my background was a bit bougie and ridiculous, I came from the music industry. So I spent 15 years, my formative years from like 18 to 30, working behind the scenes in the music industry. So I was always surrounded by extraordinary people on all levels. They were really fascinating. So I got to see what made people great from that level, whether they'd worked to get it or, they are the kind of talent that's world-class, or the executives that support them that are phenomenal, and the way that they work. So I've done that, and I've done it across the world. So I've worked in New York in an advertising agency and all sorts of things. So that caliber of people are kind of, I don't want to sound like an idiot, but they're normal to me. And I'm fascinated
Yeah,
by
yeah.
them because that's the ultimate
Mhm.
level of greatness and excellence and ability and experience. And so I find myself really at home with those kind of brains, of those sort of 6 and 7 figure experts. I love how their brains work. I'm fascinated by them. And I'm quite happy in a room with them going toe to toe. So I think maybe it's a natural, that's my network. That's the type of people that we work with. I can talk to
Yeah.
them and I'm not afraid
Mhm.
of anybody,
Mm.
basically. And I think that's
Right, right, right.
just
Yeah.
my comfort zone. So I'm happy speaking in a language that those type of clients will understand as well. Maybe it's just the background, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like that definitely played into it and you were drawn to them. And so it sounds like it was sort of a natural progression and that's where you're happy. And it's really cool that that's how, how
Mm,
it played out and you're able to build your business around serving these people. I
yeah,
think that's really cool.
definitely.
In terms of, let's go to the hiring. So if people are listening to this and they're like, oh, I
Mm.
really want to have an agency or I want to hire a team, I want to do something and have somebody help me. What are your top tips when it comes to hiring team members?
Oh, I'd say be ready before you're ready. As a true type A person, I always say I am the kind of person that if I'm started to think, oh, things are getting a little bit busy, and if you're that business owner where you're starting to feel like, oh, there's not enough hours in the day. Like if you're really starting to sit there and you're opening your laptop again after dinner, you're getting the idea that you're going to need help at some point soon. And you're starting to think about what that help looks like. Write an everything list. Start writing down all of the things that you would rather not do that you notice yourself doing, whether it's the admin and the weeds to like researching your family holiday, like literally write an everything list. And if you've got the ability to also figure out how long each thing is taking you per day, per week, per month, you've then got a massive list, which you can start to look at and to see what is the type of support that I need. Is that like an executive assistant? Is it someone who also does a bit of lifestyle? Do I need that? Am I a coach who needs tech VA? Someone who can understand Thrivecart and Flowdesk and all these things? Because that's going to give you the best ability to get on a call with a virtual assistant or somebody and to be able to have this list. I love it when clients come with lists because they're like, right, I have a list. Do you do this? Do you do that? Can you help me with this? And we can go, yes, yes, yes. No, but I know someone who does. Yes, yes. And it really helps your, future VA actually hold boundaries around what she's good at and what she's not good at. So I think
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
starting to write your everything list already the moment you're getting full with work. And then I think just have a budget in mind. And a lot of the questions that I get asked when clients are thinking of hiring a VA is, how do I get ROI on my VA? How do I get that return on investment? And sometimes it just isn't a cash return, but it's like, what is your time worth? And if they're sort of
Yes.
thinking,
Yeah.
oh, it's crunchy, I've got to spend, but your time is worth more than that VA's time. So that in and of itself is a return on investment. You're getting 20, 40, 50 hours a month back if that's where you're at.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. And I think too, for specifically service providers who want to bring other people onto their team,
Mm,
when you
mhm.
get to a certain point in your business, you're naturally wanting to do these higher level things, or you're kind of
Yes.
like naturally
Yeah.
gravitate towards certain things so that your clients still need other things. And so
Mm,
it really becomes a what's my capacity? How can I expand the capacity of what I'm offering? How do
yeah.
I get support?
Mhm.
And and it's and you are correct when you said almost like when you think it's like time, like
Mm.
you didn't say this, but what I interpret it as and what I see oftentimes is when people are like, oh yeah, I need to hire, it's like often too late because not
Yes.
too late, but it's like it's beyond like, they're already at the point of working so much that the
Yeah.
even thought of creating, onboarding somebody is overwhelming.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
thinking about these things way ahead of time is really,
Yes.
really important.
Yeah,
And in
because
terms
everyone can do
of,
that
yeah,
now.
oh, go ahead.
I was
Mm-hmm.
gonna say, because everyone can actually do that now, and that's the same if you're a service provider. Like, for me, what am I outsourcing as a business owner, as a service provider?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest things that I made investment in over the last 2 years is content repurposing, because that's, for
Mm.
me, one of the best things that in terms of I'm great, I know my message, I know my brand, I know my values, I know my core content. I can write like till the cows come home. Love that. But do I have time to chop it up and put it everywhere? No, would rather not. Would rather not. So having
Right,
that person
right,
in my
right.
corner was probably one of the first investments I made for myself. And I was like, this is game changing. It's great.
Yeah, I love that. And you were investing in the marketing of your business, which is
Absolutely.
amazing,
Mm.
right? To be able to get more clients. And the other
Mm.
thing, one other piece I want to add to this is I always tell people when you're hiring to look for somebody who is proactive and passionate
Oh,
and that
yes.
you want to have lunch with. Because there's plenty of people that are good at what they do, but
Yeah.
you want to hire somebody you actually like and somebody who you don't have to give,
Mm.
specific list of like step by step by step or it doesn't get done. So
Yeah.
things that I've hired, I know you've hired a lot. I've hired a lot for on behalf of myself
Mhm.
and other clients and never go wrong if you look for somebody who is proactive and passionate.
Yeah, and I always think it's like, what task could you give them to test, like a paid task or
Mhm.
something, or a question? I won't give it away, but I have a question that I ask every single associate that I'm interviewing
Mhm.
just to see their level of problem solving, strategic brain, whether they'll just panic. And the answers that I get for the specific questions, so I won't give it away because everyone will expect it and they'll have an answer. But it does give me this kind of massive rainbow of answers. And I always look to one side to be like, this is what I would do and this is what we needed to do, because it's a real question that happened with a client. And so I think if
Mm.
you can give them a task or an ask, before you hire them as well, because as you say, that
Yeah.
proactiveness, there's no money in the world you can give someone to be proactive when they're not. And
Hmm.
you also probably want someone who's just, I don't know whether it's experience or proactiveness, but they can crack on and just take the lead confidently. And that in itself
Mm.
it's a rare skill. It's what makes the service provider stand out and be really hireable, is that I can just do that. I'm confident. I trust my own
Hmm.
decisions. So my other thing is, I always say to my team is, ask for feedback, not permission. So make the call,
Mm.
do the thing to the best of your ability, and then ask for the feedback. But don't ask for permission. We move too quickly for you to be able to ask permission for everything.
Mm. Beautiful tips. Yeah, especially even just service providers just serving their clients, like amazing tips for
Yeah.
themselves to get hired with their clients. Okay,
Mm.
so let's dive into with all of your whole journey and the coaching and the agency and all of these ups and downs, what has been, if you were to say, your biggest hurdle in this journey of growing your business?
Oh, probably my mindset. I was like, what
You're
am I
like,
going
oh,
to
no
say?
question.
I know,
Yeah.
my brain was like, oh, is she going to give me a hard question? And I was like, oh, it's mindset. Always mindset. Oh, God. Yeah. That's why the work is so important. That's why,
Yeah.
being an entrepreneur, you got to get your demons out of the way. You got to, pull them out your head, look at them and figure them out and then put them to one side, because dear God, it will test you. When you get to earning the most money you have, perhaps, or you've replaced your 9 to 5 salary, if that was your goal, your
Mhm.
brain is going to play games and be like, well, what if it doesn't come in next month? What if you lose the client? And you cannot just be in your joy. That's one of the biggest things as well, of the mindset stuff, is to like celebrate when you do well, celebrate all the tiny things, even if it's like playing a song, having a dance around, but you just need to sink into those moments in your body as well, because otherwise you're constantly churning for the next thing. Like, when we have our own businesses, we're just nonstop. We would never stop working. It lives in our brain in a way that it doesn't in an employee's brain. So give yourself
Mhm.
grace, give yourself time. But yeah, the mindset piece, all the imposter syndrome through the years of like, am I doing the right thing? Is it going to work? Does someone hate me today? Is everybody all right? It's that, I think.
So funny. Has there been so like for me, the most so I come from a background where I studied clinical psychology for like 1,000 years. So like I'm good with like the
Mm,
the mind piece,
love that.
right? And so for me, the I would say my clients do too, but I don't know. Maybe like I use my therapist skills. But for me, for my own personal journey, it was the more like somatic piece and the learning to feel these things in my body and like listening to my body and using that and like
Mm,
getting in touch with my intuition and trusting that along with the like growing in confidence and all of that stuff that has been
yeah.
the biggest game changer in terms of modality. And I'm curious to you, is there a
Mm.
specific modality that you personally love?
I think it's such a good question, because I think, it is the body, it is the intuition, it is trusting yourself. But I think the thing that's built up over the years that I perhaps didn't have in the beginning was, like I said this earlier, the resilience, because
Mm,
you're going to fall on your face, you're going to fail. And it's about how you deal with it, because the next time you're going to get up a little bit faster and figure it out a little bit better and a little bit quicker. And that just gets faster. And then the quote unquote risks that you take or the decisions that you make, they're easier, because you're like, well, if it doesn't work, I'll figure it out. I always figure it out. I always make it right, because look at the evidence to say I've got this far. So what's the worst?
Right.
Go for it, get behind it, and you may as well get behind it with your whole self. So I think it's that resilience piece to it as well. That's a huge part of it, because I wouldn't still be here if I was like, well, also, I think in my brain, there's no plan B. I'm like, this is it. I love this. So why would I do anything else? And I'm like, okay, well, we'll just always figure it out.
And that's, yeah, the conviction, the resilience, the like, because what is the alternative? Going back to a job? No, that's terrible, right? Like,
Absolutely not.
yeah.
Never going to happen.
I love that beautiful tip. And the last question, probably related to the hurdle, is your top scaling tip that you would want to share with our audience of service providers.
Oh, top scaling tip. I think it will always come back to, I think this is a perfect loop as what we were talking about at the start of the episode. It's coming back to what feels good for you. And I know you're probably
Yeah.
thinking, what the hell's that got to do with scaling? But scaling is also, we can get carried away. Like every business has the opportunity to scale. And some people have a lot of, I should be doing this. This is what everyone's telling me to do. This is what I'm seeing in the industry. With all greatest of respect, F the industry and do what feels good for you. Because when you tune back into what you actually want, how you scale and scaling sustainably has to involve doing what feels good for you. And it has to be in alignment with yourself. So if you're feeling any frustration like I was, something is out of alignment. And the quicker that you make a decision, the more relief, the headspace you free up. But it really is that you have to, if you're going to scale, it has to be with something that you can get out of bed and do every single day. Not to say you can't change things slightly or adapt your business or create new offers, but at the core of it, it has to feel good for you. And that's probably the secret to scaling and doing that sustainably and not doing it too quickly. Nobody needs to get to, 10K months or any of this stuff. Like, what number feels good for you? Go for that. Do what feels good for you. A lot of that.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. I will second this because a lot of people will say, oh, I'm going to grow this thing because this is the fastest path to cash, or I'm already on this trajectory and I can just continue to do this because I can make more money. And they don't realize that, but then you have to do that day in and day out. And you're not going to be happy. You're not going to wake up excited for your day if you don't actually love what you're doing. This is the reason why the agency was not for me, is because as a general VA and then getting some subcontractors doing more general VA work, that's not where my heart was. I wasn't excited by that work, like personally. So I wasn't excited by this like agency model and just being in that space. So could I have made lots of money? Sure. But it wasn't fulfilling for me. So I was like, no, I don't want to do, like, the money is not the answer. The money is the tool to get you to the thing that you actually love doing and to give you that freedom and all of those things. So it's so much better and exactly sustainable when you are doing things that you actually love doing. And this is the key, like 100% on that. So amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. And if you don't mind, so let us know, how can we stay in touch with you? If you have anything, any gifts or anything else you'd like to share, please go ahead and do that now.
Yes, you can come find me at my website, thelifestyleva.net. I will probably change my Instagram handles at some point, but it's currently at Mel the Biz Coach. And I will leave for you and your audience, I have a Queen of Onboarding and everything. I have a lovely Canva welcome guide template. So when you're bringing your clients on board, it basically pulls out all the key parts of your contract that they probably gloss over, your turnaround times and your hours and how to work with you best. So that's always a nice PDF that's pre-designed and pre-populated that you can adapt to be part of your onboarding process. It really dazzles your clients and, welcomes them in beautifully. So I'll give you that as a freebie because that's always good.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing vulnerably and sharing your gifts and all of that. So thank you so much for being here, Mel.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.